Hi everyone, welcome to my talk today. Today I'll be talking about my internship at Reckitt when Kaiser. All right. Feel free to interrupt me at any point in time if you have any specific questions. If you have any detailed questions, feel free to wait till the end. That way I will be able to answer better. Okay. If in case my audio gets cut off in the between, just make sure to just text on the chat box and just give me a few minutes and I'll fix everything. And I hope this session is useful for you guys. Okay. So, what is Reckitt, right? Firstly, I wanted to tell this presentation is not at all associated with my PS2 station. I'm doing this completely out of my own effort. I got the permission for presenting this content. So whatever I'm sharing is not at all confidential. But just keep in mind that this is not on behalf of Reckitt. This is on behalf of myself and the PS division. All right. So the agenda for today, we're going to be talking about my pillars, the 5 pillars I had during my internship, the projects that I worked on, how I was onboarding the next batch, all my learning experience, and we'll have a Q&A section for you guys to ask me whatever you want. So firstly, what is Reckitt? Reckitt is a company that manufactures a lot of brands, and you may not know about them. The chances that half the products you use at home are Reckitt products, but you don't even realize. So major products are like Dettol, Harpic, Airwick, and etc. So what were the 5 pillars behind my Reckitt internship? App development using Power Apps, automation using Power Automate, analytics using Power BI, modeling and simulation using Python and machine learning, and I had electronics using Arduino and Raspberry Pi. So before I go there, I would like to first tell how I actually got in. Maybe if we have time and you guys are interested, we can also go through the resume, my resume that helped me get in. Firstly, how I got in was through PS division itself. I get this question a lot. How did you get into Reckitt? Like, did you approach? No. Reckitt comes for PS and takes one CS student every semester. If I'm not wrong, this semester they have taken 2 CS students. So I was one of the students that applied through the PS division. I got shortlisted for the interview. Once I got shortlisted for the interview, I finished the interview. And then around a few weeks later, I got the confirmation mail that I was a Reckitt intern. So I had actually started 1 month early in July because I was here in my summer and I didn't really have much to do. So I thought it'll be a good learning experience to join 1 month early. So let's focus on my pillars. Firstly, we have app development automation. I've clubbed them together because the app development was always meant for some kind of automation, and the automation was always tied to every app. So because of this, just a minute, someone's trying to join in. Okay, so I'll make you co-host. Okay. So as I said, every app was meant for some kind of automation, and every automation was associated with an app. Due to this, I've clubbed these both together. The first app, the major app actually I had worked on, was a stability management tool. This was basically to manage the lab studies, whatever chemical studies they're doing. I created a tool, I improved the previous versions by previous interns, and I made this into a global app that can be used across the world. All right? And I made it in a very seamless way that the developer intervention is not required. Right? You can create your own items, you can send for approval. It's an entire fully fledged system. I had similarly made an inventory management system as well, but this was very complex and took roughly around 3 months of my entire internship. Not just this, I was doing this half with another project, but this took me 3 months, around 1 month to design everything, another month to develop everything, and the third month to test everything and check for bugs before I leave. Because let's say I make everything and then we realize that whatever I made was just buggy, then whatever I did was useless. All right. I would love to show the app throughout. Unfortunately, I can't because it's confidential, so I've just shown a snippet. Next, this is Power Automate Flow. This is just an image I took online. So the concept of Power Automate Flow is that you perform some kind of automation using inbuilt tools with Microsoft tools. and it's very powerful. Initially, I was thinking, what is this tool? Why am I going to waste my time? This is not what I did my CS degree for. But honestly, it's so intuitive. Here and there are some irritating features, but in general, it's very intuitive and it's very powerful. You can do very complicated automations, like whenever a file is uploaded onto the SharePoint folder. SharePoint is like OneDrive or like Google Drive, whatever. So whenever a file is uploaded onto the SharePoint, you can automatically send people emails, or like on a particular day, you can send out reminder emails. It's very complicated, very powerful, and very easy to use. And the best part is, my team do not have to pay an extra subscription because this comes along with the default corporate license in Microsoft Office 365. That's automation. The next, what I had done was basically I had also created lots of best practices to ensure that whatever I've done is not going to waste. One of the things I noticed when I had joined was that there could have been a lot more documentation. So I took it upon myself to go up and above, create documentation for whatever I've done. So this, if you can see at the bottom right, the third you could say the user flow diagram. So this is basically my best practices diagram for showing what would be the ideal way to create a Power App, which is both performant and scalable, right? Then the next part was the analytics using Power BI. And this was just a snippet I wanted to show. This was basically to, let's say, monitor the lab readings. So basically, we have data loggers in the lab, and basically it's just a global standard that whenever there is kind of some study going on, like a chemical study going on, they have to make sure to correctly set the environment, like temperature, humidity conditions for the sample. Now, how do they prove that it was actually tested correctly? For that, they have to record using a data logger, just like a temperature sensor, and they will upload onto the SharePoint. And my job was to make sure both there's a seamless way for them to upload the data, and also there should be a seamless way for the managers to visualize the data and check for any issues in the data. Well, let's say there's something, let's say there's a power outage, then there will be a sudden drop in temperature. So all of this, rather than going through Excel files one by one, there's a Power BI dashboard for them to visualize the same. Next, we have Kinetics modeling. And this is where I spent most of my time and I loved the most. I had created a tool that allows Reckitt to simulate how long a product will last. All right? Sounds kind of fancy. If you can see, I've hidden the equation because it's basically proprietary. It was developed in Reckitt. And the thing is, what I had worked on was how to optimize the curve fitting. Okay, this concept is called curve fitting. You're trying to fit a curve to your data. Before I had joined, it was a typical, you could say, linear regression kind of model with respect to the model that the chemical engineers had developed. I went up and above. I developed my own loss function, my own optimization algorithm, and I've also made everything into an interactive tool where where the chemical engineers directly can do the modeling without the need of a computer science student to program every single case. All right. So if any of you are more interested in this, feel free to ask me more questions regarding the exact implementation. But this is just a general summary. If I keep going on and on, you might get bored. All right. The next part was the electronics part. And in electronics, I had to make basically like color sensors and like IoT devices for connecting. Remember the data logger I had mentioned? What if we could create an IoT system that can upload directly? I can't give any more details, but all I can say is that it's an IoT device, which is a connected data logger, which can automatically upload the temperature and humidity readings directly to our SharePoint drive. All right. So this was actually done by the previous intern, and I was just maintaining it. All right. Now, after that was done, I was actually asked to train the next batch because of how well I had done. And so I had taken through this is digitalization. I had taken through the theory behind how I developed a lot of new things. I taught them what are the best practices for meetings, what is the best practices for project management, especially if there are multiple people on the team, how do you handle? All right. Then what was my learning experience? Firstly, I got to interact with real world projects, right? And the thing about real world projects is that even today I was telling my juniors that half the thing you do in lectures and in college, half the things don't really work in the real life. Because when you interact with projects yourself, you're thinking from a particular perspective and you'll interact with everything in a particular way. But when you give it to somebody to use, they will use it in 10 different ways you didn't even think about. And that's where those edge cases will come. And I've learned a lot on how to, what do you say, predict edge cases that could occur. All right. Another thing about the chemical kinetics modeling was that in normal, let's say in CS, in machine learning courses, we have a lot of data. But when you're working with lab data, it's very limited. All right. So how do you correctly fit a curve to the data without overfitting? What is overfitting? Overfitting is basically when your model matches the training data too much and does not generalize well. Meaning for future predictions, it will not do well. But that is very important. We want the future prediction to be perfect. That's what the tool is for. All right. So all these best practices, literally, I would sit down and like watch YouTube videos for like 2 3 hours a day on top of my normal work to research how to improve the tool, right? And that's the cool thing about being in R&D. You get to interact with so many new concepts that I didn't even know was there. And I went up and above to make sure I learn a lot from YouTube. And YouTube is the best, what do you say, place to learn, not gonna lie. Then I got to network with a lot of amazing people, both chemical engineers, people from business, from marketing, finance, e-commerce, and I really loved it. Then the coolest part was I got to be involved in a corporate audit. Okay. I was not getting audited. The chemical engineers, the lab was getting audited. And literally, I had to make like reports in the last minute where the auditor would be like, okay, I need this visualization is in a table format of a graph and I need it by tonight. And then I had my manager would be like, can you work on this? And I'll have to go to the back end, extract the data, extract the reports, make my own report and make it into a Power BI dashboard, take a printout and give. All right. And I learned a lot of cool audit tricks, like how to make sure you pass the audit, but you, let's say, safeguard yourself, because even if you're perfectly all right, but if you say something extra, you might be questions like, why did you do like this? Why did you do that? And it was insane experience. It was just like eye opening for me to see that there's something called as a corporate audit and it's so serious. Then I learned a lot of soft skills because I had to present a lot, both to my teammates, my manager, and also people from like chemical engineering and other departments. So this really forced me to enhance my presentation skills to make sure that people not only from my interests but also from different interests are able to comprehend me. All right. And then cool part was I got to see the Reckitt CEO from like 10 meters away. He had come for a interaction session in Dubai. And also I got to meet the chief R&D officer of Reckitt. And my manager said this is probably the biggest success of any internship, that the senior most person of R&D is sitting in the same meeting as a junior most person in R&D. And it was an amazing experience for me. Also, theory is not equal to practice, like I had said when I was talking about the real world projects. Okay. And the cool part was this also was eye opening. Now that I entered and I was trained by the previous interns, how do I pass on that knowledge and do it in a nice way that the next batch can also understand and continue my work? And it was very interesting for me how I was able to deal with that. And again, props to Reckitt for giving me this opportunity to actually train the next interns and interact with them. Okay. And all of this part I was doing alongside my basketball experience. And Alhamdulillah, we got second place in BSF. And why am I putting this up? Reckitt really focuses on your personal life as well. So when I won this, and like there was an entire appreciation section where all of my teammates were like, congratulating me. And it's a very open, what do you say, open-minded community there in Reckitt. So yes, that's a very short summary of my internship at Reckitt, and I'll now open the floor for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, go ahead, Kushagra.
First of all, a very hearty congratulations and thank you so much for sharing your wonderful experience. I think it was amazing.
Thank you.
My question is, what do you think is the major factor that contributed towards your growth at Reckitt and like first of all your selection as well? What do you think like not just the technical, not just from the technical side, in general?
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question, but just confirm if that's what it is. You're basically asking what were the non technical skills that helped you excel at Reckitt. Is that correct? Or
Not just technical or technical in general as a whole. What's the most what's the skill that contributed most?
all right. So the feedback I had received as the best part about my internship was that everybody applauded how I always went up and above what was just asked. All right. So let's say I was given a task to make this particular report. I would always go up and above to make sure it's formatted correctly, like it's nicely labeled, all the spreadsheets are named correctly, and basically whatever I do, I try to do as the best I could do. I didn't try to overexert myself, but then again, I didn't just deliver what was asked. I always made sure to go and up and above. And another thing I was given feedback was, basically, I am a person who tells very honestly if I don't know something. But the thing is, I always make sure to cover it up, that I learn it. So another feedback I received was, basically one person told me the best part about you is that even if you don't know something, you make sure you tell you don't know, and then immediately you go and find it out. So I would say these would be the most two more major factors that impressed everybody. I would say so that would set me apart. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
All right.
nice. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell us about the interview part?
Interview part. What exactly do you want me to know the interview part?
How was your interview? What kind? More about that.
All right. So, yeah. So for me, actually, it was not very technical, because I think he saw my previous projects. My manager saw my previous projects. The main thing he focused on was my experience in BMS, so BIS Motorsports. In my second and third year, so basically before I joined Reckitt, I was the vice president for business and digitalization in BMS. So basically, it was already similar to do what I was going to do in Reckitt, if that makes sense. I was already maintaining all the spreadsheets, the database, making any kind of automation reports, and basically I was doing some kind of digitalization already. So my manager, he saw that on my resume and he said like, this is going to be very similar to this, and are you up for it? And I was like, definitely, that's what my passion is. All right. So that would be that. For me, as such, there weren't many technical questions, but I think for the next batch they did have like multiple rounds, if I'm not wrong. So probably you will have to check with them about that. Okay. Would you like to know what tips I would give for your interview? Is that what your perspective is?
Sure, you can share that as well.
What does that mean? What do you mean? Sure, you can share that. Like, are you okay?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, so one thing I would obviously say would be few quick tips I would give is always have an elevator pitch. So if somebody says like, tell me about yourself, you should have like a 1 minute elevator pitch about yourself, highlighting what your best achievements are and what makes you separate, like different from others, your unique selling point. Second thing I would say would be that you have to know your resume by heart. Like, if somebody asks, okay, what is this? Can you explain more about this particular project? You shouldn't have to think. You should immediately like be able to explain it in detail. If you're not able to explain it in detail, give the interviewer some kind of doubts that, okay, is this person lying on their resume, which will basically indirectly make the rest of your resume questionable as well. So you have to be very careful about that. Whatever you put on your resume, you have to be 100% thorough. Okay. And thirdly, I would say be very clear and what do you say, clear about your concepts. So whatever they give in the job requirements, this goes to any company, not just Reckitt. Whatever is given a job requirements, make sure you're very thorough with them. If you get asked any questions, or you have like a second stage interview process, and if you go to the technical round, you should be able to answer them. And I would highly suggest going through your machine learning or AI notes, because that will definitely help. Yes, Bhavya.
Yeah, Tahir. So I think most of us are still have questions about the selection phase. So yeah, I'll be asking one of those from that. So why Reckitt and not the other companies? Did you look for any particular skill that they were looking for, or is there some other reason?
Okay, perfect. Very good question. I got asked this a lot. Um, Honestly, I had initially applied for MSD. I had been preparing for applying to MSD for like 2-3 months. All right. Uh, and I had made my resume beautifully. I had done this. I had asked seniors what questions you got asked. I learned all the tools. I was already preparing for the interview. I had prepared all the questions. Then the caller from MSD came and I got shortlisted. What happened was I got selected for the animal health division, all right, and I was just a bit not I was a bit unsure like what the role would be, and I just had a weird feeling. So during my interview, I checked with the interviewer, like, can I know what products will I be working with? And one of the products was vaccinations for pork production. So I would be in the supply chain optimization for one of these products, and I was not very comfortable with that idea. So I had asked them, is it possible that I work with other products? Like, can I be in the supply chain optimization for other products and just not this? And they were like, unfortunately, this role, what do you say, encompasses everything. So unfortunately, the person involved in this role has to do this as well. So then the interviewer said that okay, they wouldn't force me to continue with the interview, and like I think it was mutually agreed, and it was amazing that they were also very understanding of my religious beliefs. So once I had left that interview, then I think Reckitt had come for the call up, and then I think Reckitt and Siemens and a few other companies were there. What set out Reckitt was that firstly I got a lot of good reviews about Reckitt as such from my seniors about how much opportunity is given, and another professor actually had told me, I personally vouched for it. I am not sure if it's appropriate to mention his name, but he had personally said that I will give you guarantee that Reckitt is the best PS2 internship. And I was like, okay, fine. If he's saying, then there must be something behind it, right? Yes. Then I had no regrets at all, and it worked out well for everybody because my friend got into MSD, and I got into Reckitt, and I got a lot of opportunity. And that opportunity thing is what is most important for me, because I was very anxious that what if I go to a company and they just tell me, okay, you have to do this, you only have to do this, you can't do anything else, just do your job and leave. But that is not an atmosphere I like. I like innovating and finding new ways to solve problems. And that was what was informed to me about Reckitt. And that was definitely the truth. So yes, amazing. Does that answer your question, Bhavya?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Another thing is that the machine learning part was very important for me because other divisions, so basically no other job description that I had got clearly said machine learning for for product simulation and stuff. This one had clearly mentioned in the job description that it's going to be machine learning, and that's why another reason it drew me towards it. I think Siemens had come something similar to that, but it was more about creating dashboards using Python, which I had already done it in Emirates revenue optimization. There I had already made all these data science dashboards kind of thing using Python, Plotly, Dash, and etc., which was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go more into the, let's say, the innovation part rather than just the programming part. So, oh, by the way, if I'll just go through the tool, okay. Bhavya, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just show you another thing. Yeah. So if I go through that tool, that simulation tool, what I want everybody to take away is that the programming part, making this application, was obviously took me a lot of time, but not so much. The most of the time I had spent deriving the mathematical derivations behind it. And the cool part, as much as I hate saying this, my chemistry actually helped me a lot in deriving all these equations. There were so many moments I would go back to my manager and be like, so my manager was a chemical engineer who also is brilliant in terms of all this computer science stuff. But his specialization is chemical engineering. So I would constantly go back to him and be like, why is it like this? Why are we doing this? Why did the previous intern do this? Why did you guys decide this? I kept questioning again and again until manager was also like, there were many moments he was like, okay, that's a brilliant observation. None of us noticed it before. So the chemistry part is also very important, right? I'm not saying that you have to before the interview brush up all your chemistry, but always it will obviously be helpful for you for your interview. If you know more chemistry than the others, let's say you have a tie in CS concepts, but let's say you know more about the chemistry stuff than your peers, obviously that'll give you a preference. And honestly, I didn't realize how important the chemistry part will be in this internship, but it was definitely helpful in deriving all these chemical equations, reaction constants, and stuff. Right. So that's just that. Another question I think I'll just answer myself is that a lot of people ask me, why do you take first semester, not second semester? All right. Can I get a quick thumbs up of how many people are thinking that? I didn't get allotted to first semester. I purposely chose the first semester. All right. So exactly. So my thinking was, I wanted to go for my Reckitt internship, then identify what exactly I don't know. Okay, because let's be honest, once you graduate, you'll be thinking of masters, you'll be thinking of job, maybe you want to get married, all this stuff will start coming in your head. But your last semester is when you actually have some free time to think about, what your strengths and weaknesses are and how to improve your weaknesses, or let's say your areas of improvement. And there were two striking things I realized about myself as soon as I finished my internship. The IoT part, I was not very thorough. I should have learned a bit more. And another part was I was not very good in the electronics part, the sensors stuff. So as soon as my internship got over, I approached the IIT professor in my uni, Jagdish sir. And also there's a course called AI in Robotics by Ram Karthikeyan sir. I was hoping that the courses would be offered this semester. Unfortunately, they were not. So I requested them for the course content, right? And I self-studied. And I'd like to say that with this knowledge I have gained so far in the past 1 month by self-studying, I am more equipped for the industry. So basically, I covered up all my weaknesses. The same thing if I had gone for my second semester internship at Reckitt, I may not have had the same amount of time to actually sit down, find good courses, approach professors. Who knows? Maybe I could have, maybe I wouldn't have. But this has worked amazing for me. And this was my initial plan as well. All right. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, go ahead.
Not exactly a question, but at the start of the meet, you said if you have time, you'll share your resume. We'll go through it.
Yeah, sure. Suma sir, it's all right, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No issues. GitHub.com/resume. I've actually created a repository because many students have asked me for my resume. I thought if I'm sharing, might as well get some credit. So if you guys can start the repository as well, I'll just share it on the chat box. Oops. I can't find the chat box. Give me a moment, wait. Yeah. So this is my repository. Let's just go through a few pointers. Also, guys, just to clarify, just because it worked for me does not mean this exact design will work for you as well. But let's just go through the resume. Okay. So first thing, if you see, is that I gave myself a nice... why can't I zoom in? Yeah. I gave myself a nice summary. So my objective was that by the time somebody reads this top part, they should be convinced that I am a good candidate. To get hired, like they will read the entire thing, but at least they should be interested in the first itself, right? And another thing is that I put only my relevant skills, the relevant tools, and only the relevant projects. It says that digitalization intern here, but basically before this Reckitt was there, my previous internship was there, all right? So basically everything else is almost identical. And this part was very important for my manager because this is what is very key, because if you see, I was basically involved in digitalization of all processes and moving away from traditional paper-based systems. In BMS, I was more focused on the, trying to automate everything. How can we minimize the overhead in communication? How can we improve all these systems? Which is very similar to what I did in Reckitt as well. The machine learning part, I didn't do it in BMS, But the concept, you get it, right? I was already like equipped for this role. It was like this role was like made for me. It was perfect, right? And another thing is that I would say maybe projects is very important. So if somebody asks what are your projects, you should be very thorough and you should be able to answer them on the spot. You shouldn't have to think about it, right? So those are the few points. Feel free to go through my resume anytime you want. I'll just pin it in just in case. Okay. Any questions regarding the resume or any other questions? All right. No issues. Okay, Kushagra, did I answer your question then? I mean, answer your request?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no issues. Anything else, guys? Later in campus, you shouldn't look at me and then be like, Tahir, bro, I have a question. I set up an entire call for you people. Yes, Kushagra.
The resume is 1 page.
Yes, I made it in 1 page. Also, I got a feedback. So basically, in our 4th year, we have to do this career readiness program. Unfortunately, when I was doing my PS1, that is when it got introduced. So I could not go through that program before I went for PS. So right now I have that career readiness program, and one of the feedbacks I got is that good CV. The thing is that I have it in multiple columns. So this CV is ideal if you're ever going to give a printout because it's going to be in 1 page and everything is convenient. But then if any company is using a application tracking system, basically it's a system where it scans your CV and finds keywords and stuff. So what will happen is the feedback I got from that resume expert was that when the scanner goes through my resume, it will read it as digitalization intern, July 2023 - January 2024, technology data science, which is not what I ideally want. So I am planning myself to take this 1 page CV and then design it in a way it's two page with the same content. I don't want to remove or add anything, but I'm just going to rearrange everything and make it into 2 pages. So it depends. I'm not sure which companies use that application tracking system and which do not. But if you know for sure that your company uses an application tracking system, then you should always make sure that everything is an entire line. Never have multiple columns. That's the feedback I got. But I think for PS2, I suppose 1 page CV is enough. And guys, please don't go like 3 page CV and all until you actually have so much content. Always only put the relevant content, nothing else. All right? Also, another thing I want to tell, random point. These things helped me a lot to understand the business stuff. So let's say there were some projects I was working with a global business manager, all right, and in that I had to work on the visualization, but it was also helpful to understand what was happening. So the project manager, she had actually told me that when you're free, when you don't have any tasks from your manager, just go through the dashboard, see what are the parameters inside, how did they make it, what is the reasoning. And there were, once again, I went up and above. I used to give feedback on how they can improve the dashboard as well. And my business and like economics knowledge actually helped me a lot in understanding what were the things that are being discussed on that dashboard. Also, I completely forgot about this. Regarding opportunity, I should have put this at the beginning itself. So regarding opportunity and how much Reckitt gives importance for innovation, right, and new ideas. At the end of my presentation, at the end of my internship in my last week, my manager was actually able to get hold of the director, and I got a 1 hour presentation slot to present to her everything I had done, right? And I cramped everything, and she constantly kept asking questions like, oh, why do you do this, etc. Because she was actually interested. And this is how much Reckitt is interested in new ideas, all right? So that is one thing. Another thing is that at the end of my internship, I was also able to give a global IT presentation. Around 80 people from around the world, all IT experts. I was giving them the talk on how I made the best practices for Power Apps development. How to make it in an easy and efficient way, which is also very performant and scalable to be used globally. And I had again conducted a 1 hour workshop where I explained everything, and it went very well. You might be thinking, why is this relevant? Because nobody even had a thought that this guy is just an intern. Top IT people are asking me questions like, okay, can I know how you did this? Can you please send the documentation? Feel free to text me anytime. I just really want to know about this. There is no concept of intern, senior, nothing. In Reckitt, as long as you have a brilliant idea, everybody is the same. I just wanted to tell that. I forgot to mention that. Anything else, guys? Okay. I think that's it, sir. Did I miss out on anything? Do you think I could add
Yeah,
on?
it's good. So this is very good. So I would echo what Tyre is telling. So this is what most of the companies they do. Yes, experienced it at Reckitt, but I got the similar feedback from many of the companies that initially they thought that this company is not going to be a good thing. As time progresses, they mutually understand everything. Similar, Tyre is reiterating now for me. So, but many students come back. That's there. Initially, I thought that these people are not going to help or this internship is not going to be productive. And finally, at the end of when they graduate, I'll just ask them how was it. Then they'll come back and say stories like ours together. That this was that gentleman was very good. He was so cooperative. He's still touching with me. All this. So that is the thing. So if I would always say that success of the intern is with the intern only. Success of the internship program or PS program. Major contribution is from the interns only. We do facilitate, that's all. So we are just convincing them and facilitating basically. So, but once you go there and you can always, they'll be ready. So they will just, it'll take some time. As he said, finally it went to this. Yeah, Tyre, the same thing I experienced when I was a faculty in MSD.
Got it.
Exactly. So at that time also people were, say for 7-8 of us were there, 8 students, and I was a PS faculty. So initially it was going little slow and it is traditional things only, nothing new, nothing challenging like that. It was there. As time progressed and seeing that students' interest, 2 of them, they did a wonderful project. Similar, exactly, it is used worldwide by MSD. And exactly the same thing happened. The entire crew came for the final presentation, and right from the topmost to the bottommost people. So, and they arranged a huge meeting in the meeting hall, and everybody applauded that fellow, and still he is in touch with them. So, always that is the key. So,
And
you're a fresher, so you have talent, so you should approach positively that you are willing to work. And the other thing I would recently observed is earlier when I took over as the dean, most of the companies, the first topmost criteria for filtering is CGPA. That's the easiest one. That they take the Excel sheet, filter it out, take the top. Now those days are gone. So that has gone to the secondary level. Now the primary level is they are looking at what that fellow knows and how he is willing to do work.
correct.
So that is a primary target now. The secondary is CGPA. Fine. They are coming back and telling me they are looking at this one only. Attitude. That's what they call it as. Attitude is a primary. If they lack skill, they're ready to equip that, and we can support them to equip the skills which are their students lacking. However, if that personality is not there or attitude is not there, then we can't do anything in that. So we don't want to waste our time in taking up that kind of. So primarily, recent times, many of the companies they had set CGPA cutoff, and especially it started from your batch only. So now they are just looking into the CVs and all those stuffs. So as you said, that scanner also they may have many of them, or they can easily, because of their experience, they could easily judge that whether this flow will be suitable or not. So they have experience because every semester they are doing continuously. So more that attitude is the primary keyword now.
Yeah, so even for my internship, as I said, I got a lot of opportunity. But I always, so even my manager's manager, when she was giving me like final feedback, she was saying that like what makes you special is that how you always went up and above and try to make yourself relevant. Okay.
Yeah.
So even like obviously I never went too much. Like I didn't do it at the expense of my health. Okay. But if I ever had some time, I always used to be like, is there anything I can contribute? Right. I would try to do as much as possible. 2 reasons. One, I will learn a lot.
Yes.
Secondly, it is beneficial for the company, right? If they're giving you so much opportunity, in my opinion, it's always better to over deliver. Never over promise, always under promise and over deliver, right? That is what will add value to your improvement and also for the company. I just want to enhance what Somasundaram sir said.
So that's subjective basically. See, you are here to learn as much as possible in the beginning. So that will help a long way. So that's a wonderful opportunity. Good that you have used it very effectively. I'm happy about that. Good, Tahir. Thank you so much.
No issues. Shall we conclude, sir?
Yeah.
Am I concluding or you concluding?
So anybody else, any questions? So if not, I will thank Tahir for his valuable time actually on this Friday evening. So he may be fasting also. Definitely. Yeah. So good. And
Actually,
Anyone has a question?
yeah, I had a question that is, where did you get the template for your CV?
Okay, I actually had designed it from scratch. Okay, by the way, this is another tip. I'm so sorry if I'm going a bit overboard, but I've only put relevant skills, right? Another characteristic about me is that I always try to explore other things as well. So I literally sat down before the PS semester. I sat down, I was watching a lot of resume videos, I looked at a lot of templates, and I made mine from scratch. Like literally, I went into like a Photoshop equivalent, line by line. I was deciding and then thinking this combination, that combination, square logo. I mean, square profile picture, circular picture. I tried different combinations of colors. I tried photoshopping my shirt color to match the theme of the resume. I went up and about to make sure it's like a perfect thing, right? It took me a lot of time, that I'll tell, but at least now I know I have the design.
Okay, thanks.
okay. So anyone else, any queries you have?
Guys, all I'm saying is now and all, you should not come to me in person in the college and be like, I have a question. Okay, fine, sir. I think you can conclude.
Right. Okay. So thanks, Tahir, for your time. And I appreciate your effort and coming back and giving back to the society, basically your juniors. So that is more important. So you enjoyed it. So you had a wonderful experience and forget it and move ahead. Most of the people, they do that. So very few only think about that and they would like to come back and give back to the society, basically. So in that way, I really appreciate your effort. Thank you so much.
Okay, no issues. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for attending. Means a lot. And I'll upload this entire video onto YouTube and I'll be sharing along with the email. All right.
Good.
Bye, guys. Have a nice day.